Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to introduce you to my very special guest expert, Jordana. She has an amazing story, and I am going to just let her tell you it right now, and then we'll get into some exciting questions that she'll share her vision about. And let's go ahead and get started. Hi, Jordana. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. I just wanted to ask you, I am so impressed. We had an initial meeting, and your vision and your work literally brought me to tears because it's just so important what you're doing. So if you can sort of share with my audience, what are you doing? What is basically introduce yourself, share an overview of your business, especially why you wanted to start this business, and also what is your big vision for the future of your business?
Well, the Recovery Mobile Clinic was started because as a nurse practitioner, what we started seeing was a real lack of consistency in the healthcare field because of transportation barriers. So we would say we lose around 30% of our patients to follow-up because they didn't have reliable transportation. So as someone who's lucky enough to have a husband in the RV sales business, we started really looking at the mobile model. How can we apply mobile healthcare to addiction medicine, particularly, and bring needed primary care access to people who need it the most? So what we started doing back in 2020 was we put this wonderful clinic that you see behind me together and took it on the road. So what we do is we partner with homeless shelters, transitional houses, churches, community centers, and try to engage people in the community, bring them back into kind of the healthcare model, offer them addiction medicine services and community resources, and then try to help them transition into kind of a more traditional healthcare model with more advanced services. Now, we started our clinic in February of 2020.
Yes.
So we all know what happened.
Calm.
Right after that. Exactly. But what we found, and this is very universal in the world of addiction medicine, is that there's a huge fear, there's a huge stigma in the healthcare profession as well as in the community when we start engaging people to work with individuals who suffer from substance use disorder. That fear really shut down the availability of a mobile addiction clinic. I joke that they kind of saw me as the Pied Piper, if I show up, I bring a problem. And that was a big limiting factor. When COVID hit, what we were able to do is offer a very needed service immediately, COVID testing, namely at the beginning. Which enabled people to get back into the shelters. We're in Michigan, so March in Michigan is still cold, and the shelters just shut down. People were out on the streets. We needed to get a roof over their head. That was step one. And so if a COVID test was able to clear them and get them into a safe, warm place, that was important, right? And then it was getting people into doctors' offices, getting them into treatment facilities, into their counselors, because all of a sudden they lost all of their coping mechanisms. And that wasn't just unique to the homeless population or to the addiction population. Everybody did. So what we were able to do at that time is prove that we weren't the Pied Piper, that we were able to kind of engage the population with a needed service right away. And then they saw that we weren't a problem, that we were a solution. The fear aspect started going down, and then the municipality and the participation in the program grew exponentially.
And the lives that have been saved because of your vision and your ability to make things happen and happen quickly. When we first talked, I mean, you were just on it, and you were really, nothing was going to get in your way. Your vision was big, and that vision started as one thing, and now it has grown, and you have even more vision. So can you talk about a little bit of where you are hoping to bring this in the future?
So the Recovery Mobile Clinic started as one clinic, actually the one we're in. We now have two and we're working on our third. So we are growing really quick. The big vision for this, though, is not to just stay in Michigan. What we want to do is not only engage other practitioners, like nurse practitioners or PAs or doctors like myself, to learn how to engage a population that's traditionally difficult to work with. And like I said, the stigma creates barriers and fear. So we're really trying to train individuals on the art of therapeutic communication, on the importance of meeting people where they're at, not expecting them to come and meet you where you're at. And when you're dealing with a population that doesn't trust the healthcare system necessarily, that's more important than ever, because they have to know that you're in their corner. And so many people are not.
And that there's someone there that wants to help.
I'm sorry.
That there is someone there to help them. They need to know that, and you are letting them know that, and that is making this thing successful as well.
Right. You know, the sad part about this population is I actually had a gentleman describe himself. Now, me or you would never say this about ourselves. You know, we describe ourselves as mothers or entrepreneurs or nurses or, you know, whatever it is, but he describes himself as a throwaway person.
Oh, this is the
I mean, if you can think about that for a minute.
No, it's just a shame to think people feel that way.
How low you have had to get to consider yourself not valuable. And that's what we're treating.
Yes, and all it takes is someone like you to let them know how valuable they are and start to get some of that attention, that they are worthy, so worthy of receiving, and it can change and alter their life forever, their families that they are a part of, or the friends, the groups. It just grows and grows, and it's just really what you're doing is such a sort of pay it forward sort of mission, and I'm just so inspired by it, because you are so correct. We're very comfortable with our for the most part, our lives, ourselves, our worth. You know, we work on silly things, but this is life-threatening things that you are helping people to survive. And I also wanted to touch on this. This is for those that are already in the health industry, specifically nurses that are working within an organization. And there you have a program that you are starting to introduce to nurses that may also want to branch out a little bit more on their own. Can you kind of share a little bit about that as well?
Yep. So in addition to what we do, we're also offering a lot of training. So we work with a lot of universities in Michigan to try to bring people into kind of the idea of working with addiction medicine and that whole community health part of it. But the other end of this is to try to replicate the Recovery Mobile Clinic on a national level. What we're trying to do is engage nurse practitioners, particularly just because I am one, so you know, I identify with them, but nurses are finding themselves in a position now where what's happening in our world is what we call full practice authority. Nurses able to open their own clinics. And a lot of nurses are like, great, what do I do with that?
Yes.
How do I
go forward?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is create a blueprint so that a nurse in Albuquerque, New Mexico can pick up the manual and do what we're doing. So what we're really focusing on is creating large national partners so that that nurse has a connection already. Now we're halfway there. We've got partners with Salvation Army, with the Department of Corrections. We're working on the VA. And once I kind of get a couple more of these large national partners, and any nurse in, you know, rural California can also open up, start an RV, and then we can network with those national partners in her area, and then she has somewhere to go. She has a start off spot, right? And then you can work on your smaller partners as you go. So it's really teaching and empowering healthcare to change. the world is changing, healthcare is changing, and we have to be able to alter our thought of what medicine looks like and what engaging in the community looks like. And we can't expect them to just follow the healthcare established routine anymore.
Yes.
This has to look different.
Absolutely. Change is good, especially when it's, really thoroughly understood how it's been, what does work still, and what needs fixing. And then here you have you who is spearheading things and making, just her own path, and then helping to have other people follow along. I mean, it's just really amazing. And this is so, like you said, this just started in February of 2020, and all that you have already started is amazing. And so what I most want to have you share, because it's a little bit different than the other business owners that I typically interview with different types of business. You rely very much on fundraisers and donations, and I know that there are so many women here and people in general that are truly inspired by what you're doing and want to be able to contribute and be a part of that. So can you share where someone can go? Like, what is your main link where people can find you? And also, can you tell about the donational parts that they can contribute to?
Yeah, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. Now, what that means is all of our donations go into a fund that we call the Patient Recovery Fund. What that does is enables us to provide care for patients who are underinsured, or like really high copays. Some of these Affordable Care Act plans, they have to make like $10,000 in copays before any medications or anything like that are covered. So they need assistance. So even though they have insurance, they're stuck or don't have insurance at all. What we don't want to do is create more barriers, because it just precipitates that addiction cycle. So the Patient Recovery Fund takes 100% of donations and puts it right into the Patient Recovery Fund. So donations go directly to patient care, unless they're otherwise earmarked. I mean, if someone gives me donations and says, I run a gas company, I want you to put gas in the RVs, great, thank you so much. But other than that, other than direct donations that way, everything goes directly to patient care. There's a couple ways to donate. We have a direct link right on our website. We go through Classy. So you can go right to www.recoverymobileclinic.com, and we accept monetary donations that way. Like I already mentioned, if you had a service or something that you thought might be good. I mean, we run clinics out of trucks, right? So, and we also go to a lot of shelters and high need areas. So sometimes donations aren't in the way of monetary donations directly. I get people that will give me socks, and I can give those out to the homeless population that I see. And that helps the people obviously with socks, but it also, it gives us a way to kind of pull them in, get them talking. They come in to get a pair of socks and we start talking about some of the other things that we may help with them. So it does help the clinic even to have some of those type of donated items that way.
Excellent. So please, people, donate. This is such a worthy mission that Jordana has started, and has a big vision to help people, to spread the word, to share it with other nurses so that it can branch out nationwide at some point, and it all will really have success through donations. So go ahead to that link that she mentioned, and you can learn more about her work and so forth. And thank you for this. And now we're going to get into some fun, kind of like speed round questions about your business. And I will just go ahead and ask you some questions, and we will just see what some of the answers are that come out, because we're definitely trying to inspire all women business owners, whatever type of work they're doing. And I know that there are certain characteristics that most have, and it's always nice to be inspired by others who have already started and are on their journey to success. So let me put on my readers and here we go. So, okay. So if you could only choose one answer, what is the number one way that building your business has enriched your life, and why would you encourage other women to pursue building their own businesses as a form of self-discovery and self-empowerment?
You know, you're never fully aware of what you're capable of until you go all in. And I say that as I'm laughing, because there was so many things that I never thought would happen. So many instances, so many people you meet, so many, you know, obstacles you get over, and you just keep going, and you won't get there unless you go all in. This has to be 150% commitment, but when you make it, yes, I mean, there's tough points. But when you get over those, you learn so much. And then next time you see it coming, so
if you're wise enough to pay attention, right?
there's a huge amount of learning curve, but
yeah,
like I said, you will surprise yourself, because when you go all in, you really discover what you are truly made of. And when you work with somebody else, it's not there because it's not yours.
It's not your
You're
baby.
not 150% committed. So you will learn a lot about yourself going through this.
Character building 101, right? Absolutely. I think it's the best education. Traveling and starting your own business, to me, are absolutely the best education that you could probably get.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How does your business look different now versus when you first started it? We kind of covered that. So if you just want to give a little overview on that.
Now we're growing, we're larger. We just won our first grant. We have our units in a building 100%, because they were in my driveway for a couple of years.
Wow.
I have a lot of very nice, understanding neighbors. So there's a huge amount of growth potential. We also have 12 employees now, which
excellent.
I never saw that coming. So we're in huge negotiations with schools for large training programs, and this all happened in 3 years. When you start going back to just the very beginnings, when I was just doing COVID tests in my driveway, versus where we are now. Again, when you go all in, when you put the commitment out there, when you're passionate about it, the growth potential is enormous.
I find that interesting about the 3-year mark. I hear this quite often with many women entrepreneurs. There's something about getting to that 3rd year where it takes off. And I think it has a lot to do with mindset, system, strategies, practice makes perfect, kind of, and just never quitting. And then there seems to really come this 3-year period where you have the real rewards start, and you can see the big vision for the future. It's not the first time I've heard this, but so good. 3 years is not that big a deal, right? We can all do 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What empowering routines or wealthy woman habits do you follow personally each day?
It took me the first 2 years to figure that out. You can't lose focus on yourself in all of this, because it is very easy to do when you go in 150%. I think particularly for women, then we start doing, you're focusing on the kids and the family and all the other stuff. You forget yourself a little bit. For me, downtime is exercise. I have to do it, not for my body type or whatever, although that's a plus, but for my mind, for my peace of mind, for my stress level. My employees have said to me over and over again that I'm a better boss, I'm a better coworker, I'm a better provider, I'm a better networker, everything, because I'm taking that extra 30 to 60 minutes a day to exercise and focus on myself and make that a priority. It has to be a priority, and everything else falls into place when you do that. And like I said, it's hard to do. It took me 2 years to buy into it, but I've noticed a complete 180-degree turnaround when I did.
It's the whole oxygen for yourself first before you can help others type of thing, basically. And it goes for any person, women, men, children, everybody, whether you have a business or don't have a business, this taking time for that self-care, whatever that means for you, meditation, journaling, yoga, walking in nature, cooking, whatever it might be. It is so important that you have something each day that is all of yours and replenishes you so that you can get filled up again and then go serve again, because it's just a nice cycle. It's how it should be. Okay, so how do you set your business apart from others in your industry? I mean, yours is so unique that, again, I think we kind of touched on that, but do you have anything that you might want to add to that?
Yeah, we're unique, but we're not, right? We're unique in the mobile aspect, but we're still a healthcare doctor. What sets us apart is I don't view anybody as competition. And when people ask me that question, how do you deal with competitors? I'm like, I don't have any. Yeah. We're a team. There is no such thing as competition, right?
Yeah.
We're comrades. We work together. We collaborate. So we, as being mobile, have a little bit of a flexibility to tweak our program so we don't duplicate services and take away from other sites. But in that way, we're also able to zone in on what that site really needs and put the focus on the patients that need that particular service and that particular site. When you're willing to go into a negotiation, not with an idea of competition, but with collaboration, everybody benefits. It takes down walls right away. You don't create enemies in that way, and you will surprise yourself because you have to think a little bit differently. It doesn't look the same at every site, so you will surprise yourself again about what you can do.
It's so true. And I think because you're sort of brainstorming with others, you also can come up with even better ideas than you originally started with, because of having that different energy in the room and different suggestions and thoughts, and it kind of helps everybody to think differently. So excellent. My entire work is all about collaboration. So I, just like you, there is no competition. There is enough for everybody in their own special way, and then to collaborate just makes it sweeter for everybody. So I love your answer on that. Next question. What was one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome as you were growing your business?
We kind of talked about that already. COVID. And it was right at the beginning. I mean, it was, I don't know if you guys are Friends, the show Friends fans, but that word pivot hit really hard.
Now you're making me think of Ross, and I'm starting to laugh inside, but my international people might not know what we're talking about, but I got it.
But we really had to change strategies almost overnight and immediately, and we were able to again surprise ourselves with what we were able to do. And I tell a funny story. So I actually, when we were doing COVID testing, but the vaccines, at the very beginning, it was very tough to kind of get into that market. They were so limited. And so I went to get my own vaccine, and it was at a very large vaccination event out here, thousands of patients, hundreds of workers. It was huge. And I took a box of cards with me. My husband's standing next to me, and anybody that walked by, made eye contact, anyone that was working on that thing, I run a mobile clinic. Here's my card. I can help. I love it. He looked at me at one point and said, "Can you calm it down just a little bit? I mean, you're kind of ridiculous." And I was like, "But I just need one. Yes. If I give out 1,000 cards today, all I need is one person here to pay attention." And it worked. One person paid attention. Oakland County Health Department contacted me, which led into Monroe, which led into Lenawee, and it grew, and then the state. So it worked. One card, one person.
and
So
not
don't be
quitting.
afraid to be a little ridiculous.
And you have to be. I think when you own your own business, it just is part of your DNA. I mean, we're the crazy ones, as so-called the world tells us, but I'm okay with that too. But this is great advice for any business owner, whether you're making sales calls or you're trying to build your following or whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Just keep going, just keep getting your work out there over and over and over again, because you just need one. And once you get that one, it gives you a sense of, okay, this can work. You get a built-in confidence and a new fever, and then you have much more power, and you keep going, and then it happens again and again. And you realize that even if there's a little dip in some, attention for your business or for whatever you're trying to put out there in the world, it's okay. It will come back to you as long as you don't stop putting yourself out there. So great advice across the board on that one. Okay, so how do you're so strong, but how do you deal with fear? Like, what is a mental thing that you bring onto yourself to overcome any fear that you might have, whatever that fear might be? Well, changes for all of us all the time.
I'm very lucky. I have a very strong support system at home. My husband is, like I said, kind of my business partner. Always the one that kind of pushes me.
Yeah.
He believes in me when I don't.
Yeah, nice.
And everybody needs that person in their corner, because there's going to be times you don't.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you have someone that says, look, you remember that story you told me, you saved that guy's life? There's a reason you're out there, and that when you run into financial problems, when you run into legal issues, when you run into an RV breaking down on the side of the road and you have to get it towed and it's a whole big old mess, I mean, when you run into that stuff, those key people in your corner that remind you about why you did this in the first place, they're so essential. So whether that looks like an entrepreneur group, a significant other, a best friend, a sister,
yes,
keep those people in your corner, because they're just as essential to the team as everybody else.
I agree. And you're so right. It doesn't necessarily matter where it comes from, as long as you find someone that has your back, and that, that can be your best friend, your mate, your sister, your family. It could be a coach. It could be a YouTube channel that you follow, and you get to look forward to some inspiring words every day. Or so, yes, you have to connect with something that brings you the strength when you start to feel a little bit weak in that category. So do you agree that mindset is more important than systems and strategies, and why?
Yeah, I do. You have to go into this with the idea that this is it. And I say that with anything. If you go into anything with the idea that, well, I can always change my mind later, or I can get out of it later, you're going to find reasons to get out of it later. If you go into it with a mindset of, this is it, this is going to happen, I have to make this work, then you look for the reasons to make it work, right? It 110% is mindset. And that goes for marriage, that goes for a job, that goes for raising kids, that goes for completing a college education program. A weight loss program, addiction. I tell my patients this all the time. If you want sobriety, the mindset has to be there. It has to be there, or you won't succeed. That's the magic sauce. It really is.
It really is. If not 80 to 90% of the magic sauce. I really think systems, I used to give it 20%. Now I'm starting to think maybe only 10%, to be quite honest with you, because mindset's everything. And so as a money coach, I tend to help women with money blocks. And so this next question is more on that. So for money blocks being such a huge issue for many women, did you have a personal money block that you were able to figure out a way to rise above or break through it? Because we have a lot of women in the group. Sometimes they struggle with this. I've struggled with this, still struggle with it. It's a big deal for many women, and that's why I like to touch on this question, to get a different perspective from that I'm working with and interviewing and so forth.
Mhm. I'm sorry, can you repeat that
Oh,
one more
sure.
time?
I'm sorry. So money blocks are a huge issue for many women. And as a money mindset and business coach, I love helping women transform their money story. What was or is your number one money block, and how do you rise above it?
Well, when I started this, it's really hard to get funding for a nonprofit, first of all, or for an idea like mine that's relatively unproven, right? Which meant that was a very scary moment. I took out a personal loan, cashed out a 401k, and did it, right?
Dedication.
It's
Mhm.
one of the number one questions that people ask. Well, who funds this? Are you with Henry Ford? Are you with, I'm like, no, this was independent. I did this on my own, and they're flabbergasted that someone would take that risk. And without great risk, great things don't happen. It is
That's so
extremely
true.
scary. And like I said, I've been very fortunate to have a husband and a partner that's been 110%
That's
behind
fabulous. He
me.
sounds like just fantastic, and
But
give him a pat on the back from this entire community, because we're like giving him a major thumbs up.
but from a financial aspect, the other key part of it is if that's a weak spot for you, recognize it and then put the team in place. Don't try to do everything. It's okay to not be strong in a financial area, which I'm not. I'm very clinical. I'm good at running the business, but the financial side is not my strong suit. So I engaged my he's actually in recovery, but he's an accountant, but he's very passionate about what we do. And as someone in recovery, wasn't really able to get back into the financial sector. So we have a full-time accountant that helps us with taxes, helps us with, the payroll, helps me with kind of gauging how many people I can hire and what our intake level is. And then with one of our huge roadblocks, we ran into a billing issue with a third-party billing company, trying to get very creative about where the money was, how it was coming in. Having that person that does understand the financial
Yes,
stuff is essential, and you need them early.
yes.
Don't
And
don't don't talk yourself into not being able to afford them at the beginning, because you can't afford the
not
problems
to.
that happen
Yes,
later when you don't have them. So know your
yes.
weakness is kind of my point. Know your
I
weakness.
love this. Love this.
And
In fact, I want to kind of really basically go over very key points that you just made, because this is a big deal for all of you business women out there that are afraid to part with your money. And we get it, but sometimes you have to hire the help to do the things that you either one can't do or don't like to do, because you have a mission, you have a vision for your business, and you cannot do everything. And if you try to, you're setting yourself up to at least make the journey so much tougher than it has to be. So please love yourself and your vision enough and take on, this is what we would call a wealthy woman activity. Hire out, delegate, outsource, so that you can focus on what you do best, because we can't do everything the best. We're just not capable. And so this advice is so strong, to have the awareness of what you like to do and what you're good at, and what you don't like to do and what you're not so good at. That doesn't mean that it has to fall apart. Just go find somebody that is loving that and does it well, and then you don't have to think about it anymore, and you can think about other things. This is a huge part of getting success in your business. So that's why I kind of wanted to
yep,
re-say what you said so beautifully, because it's a big deal. You're allowed to ask for help. You do
yes,
not have to do it all on your own.
right.
So
And
but
actually, I think that's a recipe for failure if you try,
yes, it really is. Or
because not one
burnout.
person can do it all. You can't.
Absolutely.
So,
Or even if you do succeed, you're not going to enjoy the process, and then you're just sort of going to wind up not liking the business that you had hoped to love. So there's a couple ways it can backfire. It's just not worth it, like you said. So
yeah.
let me just get rid of this. Oh, wow, we're running a little okay. So I just had a Anyway, okay, real quick, have you ever had coaching to help you with your mindset and business growth? And why would you recommend others to hire a coach?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing that one.
Oh, no problem. Have you ever had coaching, like business money coaching, to help you with your mindset and business growth? And why would you recommend others to hire a coach?
I didn't have coaching per se, but what I did have is mentors. So if you don't have access to a mentor, then a coach can kind of help you out, with the same kind of an idea of someone who's gone through something similar, who can kind of see some of the problems coming your way, and then help you out with recommendations that may work. Some of the things that we can avoid are actually very common traps. And if you've got someone that says, I know that sounds like the thing that you should do right now, but let me tell you why not,
Yes.
or this isn't the place to save money. This one, um, I paid dearly for ignoring that once. I was insistent that we needed more people, that we were growing, we had to staff and blah, 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 blah. And I think that comes from the old mindset of
Yeah.
being like a staff employee and wanting my
Yes.
employees to, feel supported and not feel overworked and all of that. And what we ended up in was a big financial mess because I had too much overhead and not enough, so I
It
didn't
happens to
listen to
all
the
of us.
mentor there. And there was a little bit of an I told you so after that, but it was a hard lesson, but it was a lesson learned well. So
Yes,
a
sometimes the
coach or
hardest
a
lesson.
mentor or something will save you a lot,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
moving forward.
Well, I just want to say I am so thankful for this, such a beautiful, inspiring interview. This is going to benefit so many that hear your story and inspire them to just keep moving forward, doing what they can, getting the help that they need. And I just want to thank you so much for your time. And before we close out, can you just share again your website so that people can go ahead and learn more about your work and hopefully be able to contribute to your mission, which is such a beautiful one?
Absolutely. Our website is www.recoverymobileclinic.com. There are many ways to help. It does not have to be financial. Like and share, follow, tell your friends and your family about it. Start ending the stigma. Start talking about the addiction problems in your family, in your personal life. There's so many non-monetary ways to be beneficial to this movement. So there's lots of things you can do. So don't let money tie you down.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jordana. You
Thank
are
you.
truly inspiring, and everybody that you touch in your life is so blessed because of the work you're doing. So thank you so much for sharing your
Thank you.
success story with me. And I'm sure that there'll be more that we'll have a chance to talk about in the future. So if there's a chance that you want to come back on and talk a little bit more, we'll see what we can put together for that. So
All right.
thank you again
Sounds
for your
good.
time.
Thank you.
Ciao. Bye.